Hey everyone, thanks for watching this introduction video. Today we're going to look at the new Adaptive Alerts video in Rollbar. So this is a new feature that's designed to help you reduce your alert noise and improve your alerting experience overall. So what is it specifically? It's a new alert trigger or a new template inside of the existing notification settings. And what it's going to do is, with very minimal input from your side, it will then calculate the event rates for your given projects over time and deliver notifications about when you have notable exceptions to those event rates. So that's done through a sort of autoregressive calculation of that event rate over time, making sure that it adjusts to your typical usage rates. So how is this different from the existing triggers? So the first one, a very important distinction, unlike some of the existing triggers that we have, this is not dependent on the item grouping. So a high occurrence rate can happen outside of a single item. It can happen across a given environment or attributed to a single root. And then, of course, unlike the logarithmic occurrence trigger, the 10 to the nth, this has an adjusting sensitivity level. It's not fixed on those numbers, 10, 100, 1,000, etc. So that gives a better experience to the users because you have a closer view and you're going to be notified about those when those calculated exceptions have occurred. So this improves your alerting experience in a number of ways. It's going to give you more actionable alerts with very little input required from you to configure these. It's going to give you a timely notification delivery, so the maximum delay I think we've seen so far is 10 minutes there. And then it's also going to give you more visibility and context around the errors that are a part of that exception. As we'll see in the demo with the notifications that we show, we do have more information gathered there. So I threw in this visualization just to try to show how that threshold would adjust over time depending on the calculated rate. So this is a visualization that I just borrowed from a logging company. This is not a perfect representation because we would not actually trigger anything on a lower end exception. But the reason I chose this is because it does have an adjusting threshold here on the upper bound, and it shows one of these exceptions. So this would be where your rollbar notification would be delivered. And if this were a flat line, of course, we could see maybe that a number of these would trigger even though they're not really that notable. So making sure that the event threshold is closely tied to the historical ingest is important. And for one customer that we measured this, in a given week, they would have received 961 notifications from the high occurrence rate rule, and we brought that down to 22 of those with the adaptive alerts rule. So a very dramatic improvement or reduction in the number of alerts that they received there. All right, so now we'll quickly transition over for a brief demo. Since this is a low input feature, there's not a lot for me to demo as far as how to set this up and what to do. I already have one of these rules in place. If you don't, you'll find it here in the rule list. It's actually at the top now. And to configure this requires just a couple of things from you. You need to set the minimum exception rate for a given hour. So depending on the size of your company, how many people are using your application, this can vary a lot. For the tests that I do, I was actually setting it at 10, just so I could keep that low for my demo environment. And then the sensitivity level. This is basically just going to change the frequency of those notifications, how sensitive that threshold is. So if you select a higher sensitivity, you can think of that as lowering the threshold. If you were to receive 10 events in a week, then selecting the high model from that would probably double that to 20, and then moving from medium to low would probably cut that in half, so going from 10 a week closer to 5 a week. And aside from that, it's very basic setup. It's similar to the other alerting rules that we have. There is an environment filter here. That's optional though. So you put this in place, and then it will begin to calculate that historical event rate and start to deliver notifications about when that rate has been exceeded. And so we'll take a quick look at what those notifications look like. Here's one of the email notifications. We can see here that it's got the There's some important info here in the banner: high exception rate detected in a given project. We can also see the environment as well as the severity. This is 4.21 times more exceptions than we're used to seeing in that given hour. And then scrolling down, I have a couple of links back to Rollbar, and then I even see a list of the specific items that were a part of this, some of those top offenders, and links back to those. And it's going to be very similar. The Slack view is coming from our Rollbar bot there, and it's all of the same information, just in a slightly different format here. We've got some notable callouts at the top, links to some of those items, as well as the tooltip here. So that helping you to quickly move back to Rollbar and investigate those with more information. All right, so that's everything for the introduction here. Make sure to configure these rules and allow them to work for you to help improve your alerting experience.